Imposing tariffs on China will not help resolve the U.S. fentanyl crisis. On February 1st, the United States government announced a new 10% tariff on Chinese imports under the pretext of combating the proliferation of the opioid fentanyl. The following day, the spokesperson of the Chinese Foreign Ministry stated that China firmly deplored and opposed this move and would take necessary countermeasures to defend its legitimate rights and interests. Indeed, a new tariff is counterproductive not only when it comes to efforts to rein in the production and distribution of fentanyl, but also for bilateral trade relations. The U.S. is one of the largest consumers of fentanyl-based drugs in the world, and in recent years, their abuse has exacerbated drug addiction and caused many deaths. The crisis has its roots in long-standing opioid use patterns in the country, the profit-driven nature of the U.S. pharmaceutical industry, inadequate public awareness, and ineffective social governance. China has some of the world's toughest counter-narcotics policies and laws. In the spirit of humanity and goodwill, China has given support to the U.S.'s response to this issue. At the U.S.'s request, China announced back in 2019 the decision to officially schedule fentanyl-related substances as a class. China has conducted counter-narcotics cooperation with the U.S. side in such fields as the scheduling of drug-related substances, intelligence sharing, and cooperation on individual cases. Yet, the U.S. still insists on dramatizing the issue and accuses China of driving its fentanyl crisis. But scapegoating other countries for a domestic crisis will not make the problem disappear. Tariffs certainly will not. The unilateral sanctions imposed by the U.S. risk weakening its anti-drug cooperation with China and may also force fentanyl precursor transactions to be conducted on the black market or through third countries, making law enforcement even more difficult. Furthermore, these unilateral sanctions imposed violate the basic principles of the World Trade Organization, WTO, of which both China and the U.S. are members. According to the 1947 General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade (GATT), the precursor to the WHO, trade shall be conducted in a non-discriminatory manner. However, the unilateral sanctions imposed by the U.S. on specific countries or enterprises essentially constitute discriminatory treatment. This undermines fair competition among WTO members and poses a potential threat to multilateral trade rules. Additionally, the U.S. practices violate the principle of national treatment laid out in Article 3 of GATT. The article requires that imported products must not be accorded unfavorable treatment based on their origin after entering the territory of a WTO member. The sanctions the U.S. imposed may directly restrict the import of legal drugs or their precursor chemicals, resulting in discrimination against imported goods from China. The U.S. may seek to justify its unilateral tariffs by citing threats to public health or national security, which under GATT can be used to justify tariffs. But to invoke GATT's Article XX, General Exceptions, or Article XXI, Security Exceptions, the U.S. would have to demonstrate not only the relevance and necessity of imposing tariffs to protect public health or national security, but also the absence of other less trade-distorting and equally effective means. Factors such as the complexity of the fentanyl crisis and domestic demand make it difficult for the exceptions to be applied.